Hey everybody, welcome back to Baseline Farms. My name is Jade. Oh my goodness, so many things have been happening on the farm. Well, let's just start off with the skunk. So the skunk has killed 2 of our chickens. 1 baby chick and 1 big chicken. One of the bigger chickens used to perch on a ladder inside the chicken coop, and she kind of perched lower on the ladder. And so one morning I went in there and yeah, she was dead. And then a couple nights ago, there was, I didn't hear anything, you know, the chickens didn't make any noise, but the next morning I found a dead baby chick, and when John went to look at them, like the first one and the second one, he already determined that it was a skunk. So he has set up a trap. We did set up a trap for the skunk. We have not caught him yet. So yeah, so that's what's happening as far as the skunk goes. But we have been doing so much in the garden. I have harvested all of our carrots. I've been harvesting green onion. Let's see, the lambs are doing really good. They have been adjusting. The boy lamb, we have 1 boy, 2 girls. And the boy has now been eating out of my hand, so that's awesome. What else? Oh my gosh, my daughter went to prom. She's graduating high school this year, so we've been so busy with that. And what else? I think that's pretty much it. I've planted a bunch of things in the garden. I've planted some more tomatoes. I think that's pretty much it. So let me just give you the tour of what's happening in the garden. So we've been having some really crazy weather. Right now it's in the 90s. It's supposed to be high 90s today. I want to say like 94, somewhere around there. The past week it's been super hot. It's been in the 90s the whole time, since Monday. Let's see, my sister did come into town for about a week, and while she was here it rained non-stop. So we had hail, we had thunderstorms, we had wind, and some of the peppers that I planted look a little stunted, but I have moved them into a garden bed that does get a lot of sun, so I'm hoping that might help, because they were in a garden bed that was really shady. But first we're gonna start off right here in the little onion. So these are my yellow onions right here, and I have so much weeds. There's just been so many weeds lately, it's nuts. I can't even keep up with them. So, oh my goodness, we had a Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. I know it's late, but you know, happy Mother's Day. So yeah, on Mother's Day, what I did was John asked me what I wanted to do, and I just wanted to spend time in the garden. I have not spent any time in the garden. The weeds were out of control, and I just wanted to spend a day of uninterrupted gardening, if that makes any sense. I just, you know, sometimes you get so caught up in chores around inside the home that I don't really get a lot of time like I want to spend out in the garden. And plus it's been getting so warm, so it went from straight rainy, cold, 40-degree weather to all of a sudden 90 degrees. It's crazy. So over here, the onions have been growing profusely and so well. So these are some yellow onions, and then I have some green onions here in the back that are doing really well. And like I said, I've been harvesting them. I've been chopping them up and freezing them. So that's how I've been preserving these onions. And I've never done that before, so we'll just see how it does. So let me show you what else is happening. Okay, so what we have going on this garden bed are some San Marzanos heirloom variety by Johnny Selected Seeds. And this is the first time I've ever grown this variety, and they're doing so good. I've just been coming through and snipping off the suckers. Now last year I did the same thing. I was coming through and snipping off the suckers, but then I had so many tomatoes like I do this year, but I did not trellis them like I did this year. And they were just falling over because I was not able to keep up with the suckers. That was the most tomatoes I've ever planted. I've never planted that many tomatoes before. And so this year I feel like I'm a little bit more organized in the garden as far as the trellising thing goes. I have this trellising fence, and this is just fencing, like rolled up fencing that I've cut to attach to these T-posts. And you know, this is just stuff that we had out in the field, so I'm going to try it, see how it works. I have all of the San Marzanos right over here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 San Marzanos, and so far so good. I am going to clip off some of these bottom leaves to make sure that they're not touching the soil. But other than that, these tomatoes are doing really well. I'm so excited about. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to try them because I've been a little spoiled ever since I grew tomatoes. I've been growing tomatoes. This is my 3rd year or 4th year growing tomatoes. The store-bought tomatoes are just not the same. They are not vibrant in color. They don't have a really great flavor. So I am so excited to grow these tomatoes and preserve as many tomatoes as possible this year. Last year I did do a lot of preserving, and we just finished off our last jar of salsa, and we think we have like 4 or 5 jars of spaghetti sauce. So this year I'm definitely going to make more of salsa, spaghetti sauce, and I think diced tomatoes and stewed tomatoes. So that's what's happening right here. Let me show you what's happening on the other side of this bed. Okay, so over here on this side of the bed, I started some marigolds from seed right in here. And then I also popped in some basil seeds in throughout this area. Now, I feel that the birds might have eaten some of the seeds because I planted a lot of basil. I literally just planted a ton right in this area. But I don't see any basil popping up. I see just a few, but a ton of weeds, so much weeds. All right, so now over here, this is where I started some peppers. I have some sweet bell pepper. This is by Burpees. I have some Shishito sweet peppers, and that is by Johnny Selected Seeds, in my first year ever growing those. And then I bought some peppers from Home Depot. I bought 2 purple bell pepper and 2 cayenne peppers because I did not start any of those. So I figure they look really good right now because they're so big when I bought them from the store that they're looking super healthy. So everything's doing really well. I feel like I do need to fertilize some of my plants that I just popped into the garden. But other than that, everything is doing really well in this garden bed. All right, so let's just move on to the next one. So over here in this garden bed, last year we had, I believe, tomatoes. No, we had some zucchini squash growing in this one along with tomatoes. And the zucchini squash was phenomenal, just amazing. But this year, what I started in this garden bed was some jade beans. I've never started jade beans before. This is my first year. I have tried growing them in the past, but just didn't have really good success growing them. So I have right now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that right? 7 jade beans growing in this garden bed. And I cannot wait. Now, on the package, it said that it did not need any type of trellising method, that it's a bush variety. So let's see. I don't know. We'll find out because I've never grown this variety before, but I'm excited. And because some of the seeds did not pop up, I might just plant a couple more jade beans just to fill in some of these little spots here. But that's how this area is doing. Let me show you how the cucumbers are growing. So over here, I planted some Katrina cucumber, and I have this little trellising. Look at this kitty, oh my goodness. I swear. So I planted these Katrina cucumbers. I started these from seed, and at first, when I first put them in the garden, they were so tiny, and I did not think they were gonna survive because they're so small. But they're actually doing pretty good, and they're actually growing, you know, not too bad. Oh my goodness. Now, I don't have anything planted right in this area, so that is okay for him. But yeah, there's a couple little cucumber already forming, and they're so stinking cute. I don't know if it's early, but let me show you. Do you see that little cucumber right in there? So cute. It's right there. Yeah, look at that. So yeah, we have quite a few little cucumbers growing. All right, so I don't know if the cucumber is supposed to be growing right now because the plants look so small, but either way, I'm excited. I cannot wait to see how this variety grows. And then we have some Lake Valley cucumbers that I started from seeds, and they are doing so well. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 or 8. I have 8 new cucumber plants. That's a lot. But let me show you what else is happening. So over here in this garden bed, we had a ton of tomatoes growing in this garden bed last year. Now we had a whole row of carrots over here, so I have since pulled out the carrots. Now, when I pulled out the carrots, I noticed that some of the carrots were not uniformed. They were not long and slender. Some of them were short and stubby. Some of them were a little deformed. And so what I'm assuming is that the soil, this is new soil. We bought this by a trailer load. John had a trailer load, he dumped off a trailer load here. And it's mushroom compost. Now, it grows really well as far as tomatoes and things like that, but for the root vegetables, I noticed that the root vegetables like it to be a little bit more looser and softer. So the carrots did come out a little funky. But when I grew carrots in the small garden last year, those carrots grew well, really good, really uniformed, really nice. And I think it's because when I started off that garden in the very beginning, I used potting soil in all of those garden beds. So that soil is really loose and fluffy, unlike this one, which I think eventually it's going to get there as long as I keep working it and adding the amendments and all that stuff. I think eventually it'll be light and lofty, just like the ones in the front, in the little garden. But the tomatoes and cucumbers really like the soil. The spinach, anything that grows above the ground really do well in this mushroom compost. So right here I have some bronze torch by Johnny Selected Seeds, and I know they're tiny. Look how tiny that one is. But I think within a couple weeks you're gonna see a huge difference in the size of these tomatoes. It's amazing how fast they grow. So in this garden bed, I put up a little trellising mechanism right here. I have some zinnias. We added some alyssums, some marigolds. Oopsie daisy, broke one marigold. Oops. We have some carrots right here. We also have 3 rows of spinach, and I've been harvesting spinach non-stop. At first, when I was harvesting the spinach, I thought, oh, maybe I'm not going to be getting that much. But now I have so much spinach. I've been freezing it. We've been eating it regularly, which is just been amazing. So I am going to succession sow some more spinach in some of the other garden beds. Let's see, I have these 3 rows, and then I have another garden bed with some sporadic spinach here and there that's doing really well. But let me show you how the garlic's doing. All right, so over here in this garden bed, we have all of our garlic, and I feel it's almost time. I think it's almost time. The leaves at the bottom are drying out. I pulled out one of them because it was kind of flopped over, and the bulb looked pretty good. You know what? I'm just gonna pull one out just to see what it looks like, because I'm getting so excited. So let me take a look. Now last year I grew garlic, and I just waited until the bottom leaves turned brown just like this, and then that's when I harvested them. And so, oh wow, this bulb looks pretty good size. Oh wow, this is so exciting. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Oh, this is so exciting. I feel it might be time. I mean, that looks like it's ready. Doesn't that look like it's ready? I don't know. I feel like it's big enough. Let me just pull out one more just to see. Oh, this looks pretty good. I think I'm gonna have to get a shovel to shovel some of these out. Wow, that looks pretty good. Now there's a farm not too far from here, and they have a ton of garlic. Oh wow, it smells so good. And I feel like the other day when I was passing, I wasn't paying any attention, but I thought at the last minute I saw that maybe their garlic was missing, and I thought I was seeing things, so I need to go pass by there again to see if they harvested their garlic, because if so, I feel that our garlic might be ready to harvest. Look at that. Oh, that is so exciting, because I could definitely use this garden bed for some tomatoes or something else. Wow, that is really exciting. So yeah, I have some small ones here though that I feel might not be, you know, ready, but these big ones are, God, amazing. All right, so I'm gonna do a little bit more research before I pull them all out, just to make sure I get the biggest bulbs possible. And then we'll leave these here and I'll pick them up in just a little bit after I get done. That is so exciting. I cannot wait to harvest this garlic and try it in a dish. But here's the lemongrass. Look how good it's doing. It's doing so good. I am so excited, especially after I cut it. Because after I cut it, it did not look so pretty. So I'm glad it is making a comeback. I just love this plant. It is such a great plant. My dad brought it over when it was tiny, and I put it into this wooden planter box, and it has been growing profusely. I've been harvesting it all year round, and I'm just loving it. So this is such a great plant to have in the garden. You can use it for cooking and teas and all sorts of things, and it just smells so good when you cut it and you cook with it. Oh my gosh, amazing. So I love this lemongrass, and it's gonna stay here forever. So if you haven't had lemongrass in your garden, it's so easy to grow. It's literally hands off. You pop it in the garden and just water it. Yeah, so it's amazing. So that's how this lemongrass is doing. Okay, so over here in this garden bed, I believe this is the garden bed that we had a bunch of peppers in last year. And this year, I have put so many vegetables in this garden bed. I've never done this before. I thought I'd just try it out because it's my first time ever doing any kind of companion planting like this. And so let me just share with you what I have going in this garden bed. First, we have those tall plants right there in the very back. Those are Jerusalem artichokes. Now, last year I grew some Jerusalem artichokes along with some ginger. And I thought I was growing ginger the whole time. But I ended up growing these Jerusalem artichokes. Now, they're actually pretty good. They taste like a water chestnut, but when I harvest them, I washed them really good, and I guess you weren't supposed to do that. I was supposed to just pull them out and then just let them dry and then just brush the dirt off of them and let them cure that way. I did not do that. I pulled them out, I washed them, gave them a good washing, and then I dried them. So now I know to not do that and, pull them out and let them dry. But let me share, I have some nasturtiums growing in here. Look at that. And I started these from seed. I have some spinach. I have all this spinach right here. And then I have a ton of artichokes. Just a ton. And look at this spinach. My goodness. This is all the spinach I grew from seed. It's looking amazing. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artichokes plants growing in this garden bed. And you know what? I don't know why I didn't do any research on artichokes and how big they get, because after doing research, I found out that they get huge. They get so huge. I have artichokes growing in so many garden beds. I finally oh my goodness, this kitty. I finally just pulled, I think, 5 of them out and put them into a I dug holes around the edges of the garden and I put them inside the garden beds. Oh my goodness, Kitty, come on. There we go. She just wants so much attention. I just had to keep petting him. But so that's how this garden bed's doing. We have some carrots growing. I threw in some, what are these, marigolds. We have some turnips growing. So many things. I also planted some celery, but I don't think it's gonna grow because there's just so much stuff growing in this garden bed. But it's looking so good. I love it. I love how everything's doing. Now I feel I need to start thinning out some of these carrots. I've already thinned out the turnips and the turnips are growing fantastic. So let me give you a really good look as to how everything is growing here in this garden bed. I am so pleased. I did not know how this garden bed was going to turn out, so I am really just so pleased at how the outcome and how it's looking. It's looking so full and beautiful. This is just amazing. So now over here, let me show you. Look at this, our blackberry bush. I have put a netting on this because we have so many blackberries. I mean, just a ton of blackberries. So this is just so awesome. I cannot wait to see how it's gonna look. I just cannot wait to harvest a ton of blackberries. So over here, this is where we have our trellising, our little arch trellis, and our avalanche peas are growing so well. Look at that. They're getting so good. I just been wrapping them around this, this trellis. So this is, I believe, a hog panel. Yeah, I think this is a hog panel. So they have hog panels and cattle panels, and I want to say this one is a hog panel. The difference is the squares. Some of them are bigger than others, but this is what fit into the garden bed. So over on this side of the garden bed, this is where we had some peppers. Now I have I have removed all of the peppers in this garden bed because I noticed that this garden bed was not getting a lot of sun. It was not getting sun until after 1 o'clock. So that's just not going to work for peppers because from what I know, peppers need a lot of sun. So I have since pulled out all of the peppers except for like these tiny little guys, which I don't know if they're going to do well. They just look so tiny and they look like they haven't grown at all. This little one, see that? And yeah. So what I have growing in this garden bed is I have some marigolds growing. I just have a little bit of basil, but that's pretty much it. It just doesn't really have much except for these avalanche peas. So I'm thinking about, I'm not too sure what I'm going to plant in this garden bed. At first I was thinking some zucchini squash, and then I was thinking some tomatoes in both of the garden beds. But because it doesn't get a lot of sun, I'm going to have to find something that that likes the shade a little bit, So I'll figure it out and plant something beautiful in this area. But I have 2 empty garden beds right here so far, and that I could utilize and plant a bunch of vegetables in. So here is our raspberry bush, and it's looking so good. Now I did put some fertilizer called Berrytone, and I did scratch it into the garden bed. So I'm hoping that that'll help, and then we'll get some raspberries because I did not get any raspberries last year. I take that back. I got 2. I think I got like two raspberries. So I'm so excited to see, what kind of raspberries we're going to get, how much we're going to get. And I'm just so excited to have these blackberries and raspberries in my garden because I just love eating berries. And it would be so fun just to have some sweet, berries in the garden. All right, so there's one of the artichokes right there. I have another one right over there. So I have them all kind of lined up along this fence on the side of the garden. And so far, so good. All right, so over here in this garden bed, this is where we have our celery. And look at how good it's doing. I'm so glad I did not pull it out. I feel like it is time to harvest it. Now, when I planted these celery, I planted the seeds very thick. I did not thin them out because at first I didn't think they were growing. And so I thought at first I was going to pull them out, but now looking at it, it is growing quite a bit. And I I feel like I should harvest some of these because they look really good, but they look kind of small. But I think it's because I had them so tight together. So that's how the celery is doing. And then I also planted some cilantro right here in this one little area. And I noticed that there is some cilantro growing. So I have a couple little bundles here. Is that cilantro? No, that's a weed. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably about 6 little bundles growing of cilantro right here. And that's so exciting. Now on the other side of the bed, that's where I had some artichokes that I popped out and some peppers that I also popped out of here because this garden bed doesn't get a lot of sun either. And that's probably why the cilantro was growing so slow. But yeah, but it's good now. Okay, so over here in this garden bed, I have 10 artichokes growing. And I know that's a complete overkill. I should, I'm planning on taking out some of these artichokes. I don't know what I plan on doing with them. I might just plant some of them in the small garden because there's just so many. And, you know, once I looked at how big they got, 10 of them is just going to be too many in this garden bed because they're just going to get so big. So I don't know what I was thinking when I started planting these. You know, my first thought was the perennials. So I should plant all of the seeds so that way, you know, we could get as much artichokes as possible. And now, now that I have them all planted and realizing how big they're going to get, man, I should have just held out and saved them, but it's all right. So now I have all of these artichokes and yeah, just a ton of artichokes. So that's the exciting part, is that they seem to really like the soil and they're growing really well out here. So that's awesome. But once I remove these artichokes, then I'll have this garden bed along with this other garden bed where the celery is growing. And yeah, so I have 1, 2, 3 garden beds to fill. Maybe 4 if I pull out the garlic. That's a lot of garden beds, so that's super exciting. So let me show you what else is happening. All right, so over here in this garden bed, I started some super snappy peas. And I do have some peas growing, just 2, because I did not put any netting on the garden beds when I planted the seeds. I was going to, and then I couldn't find any, and then by the time I found some, it was already too late. So in this garden bed, I have some burpees, super snappy peas, and then in the middle, I did not grow anything in the middle because I thought maybe the peas were going to take over, and then I had some zucchini squash on the other side. Well, the zucchini squash, only 2 of them have popped up, and I'm thinking I'm probably going to plant some more zucchini squash. So yeah, so that's what's happening in this garden bed. Now I do have some cucumbers growing in the very back. So I'm excited to see how that's going to look. And those ones are the Lake Valley cucumbers, same cucumbers I have growing in another garden bed. And I'm so excited. Now I already have flowers on them and they're already growing some cucumbers. So that's so exciting. But this garden bed, I don't know, it's just full of weeds. I feel like I'm just gonna have to do something else to it and plant something else in this garden bed also. But yeah, so this is how this garden bed's doing. And let me show you, give you a better look at how the cucumbers are doing at the end. All right, yeah, so look, they're doing so well, but this crabgrass is so out of control. But there's already flowers and some babies on there, some cute little cucumbers already growing. So I'm excited. I cannot wait to see how this trellising method is going to work for these cucumbers. This is so exciting for me. I have not had any trellising in this garden. Last year I didn't have any kind of trellising mechanisms or anything like that. So this year, yeah, we have a ton of things for these things to climb on. So I'm so excited to see what the garden is going to look like once it's in full bloom with everything growing everywhere. All right, so over here we have our Myers lemon. Now last year we had some blossoms on here and I did not put any kind of netting on top, and when the little lemons were forming, the birds ate them. So I did notice that we had quite a few blossoms on here, but now I only see 3. So I feel like maybe I need to get some netting and put some netting on top of this so the birds don't eat the little lemons that are going to be forming, because I'm really hoping to make some lemonade this year with this Myers lemon. I've had this lemon tree for so long. I had it planted in an area that I didn't know anything about plants. So when I bought this, I just stuck it right into the ground. The hole wasn't even that big. It was the same size as the container, and surprising, it didn't die. So as soon as, I started, I guess, getting familiar with plants and things like that, I popped up this lemon tree, and then I put it in this, wooden box, and it has been growing, because before it didn't have any leaves. It was super puny, like a little twig, and now I feel like this is its spot. And now that I know what I'm doing, obviously. So over here in this garden bed, we have some Cherokee purples on this side, and they're doing so good. I've been on top of it. I've been, doing the little suckers. Like, this one's super puny, but on the bigger ones, like those ones in the back, so crazy. I planted these all at the same time, but those ones in the back have gotten so big compared to this one little guy in the front here. Do you see that little guy? He's so tiny. But yeah, so these are some Cherokee purples, and they are doing so good. These are by Johnny Selected Seeds, and this is the first time, let's see, growing in this garden bed. No, I think this garden bed I grew corn, but I didn't have any irrigation, and the corn died, and it just wasn't doing good. So now I'm so excited, because now we have some tomatoes growing, and on the other side, let me show you what I have growing on the other side. All right, so over here on this side, we have some pink Berkeleys, and they're doing so well. So now I need to come through, and I need to clear off these bottom leaves that are touching the soil, just to make sure that they don't get any kind of backsplash from the water, which I'm using all the drip system. So I did all the drip for the gardens, for all the garden beds, and everything is working so well. I'm so excited, because this is such a game changer for me. Last year, I did everything. I watered everything by hand. So when you're trying to go out of town, it's really hard to find someone that's going to be able to water all of your things and give them a good amount of water. So it was very hard for me to leave town and trust someone to water the garden. So to have this irrigation, to just be able to come through and, turn on the irrigation is just amazing. Now I cannot wait till it's on a timer. Once it's on a timer, that's just going to be amazing. I cannot wait for that day to come. But, one step at a time. I never thought I was going to have this huge garden, and now I have this huge garden, and I never thought I was going to have, garden beds full of tomatoes or plants or anything. I never could have imagined me doing this at all. So this is so amazing. So I love seeing this garden bed full of color and some marigolds, and I cannot wait to harvest some of these tomatoes. I am just so excited. I've never done these before, so this is so exciting for me. All right, so over here in this garden bed, this is where I transplanted all of the peppers. So I did buy some of these peppers just the other day. I bought some red bell pepper along with some hot Pablo pepper. And then for some reason, I thought I didn't grow any sweet shishito peppers, but obviously I did, because I just grew them on the other side. So I did buy one sweet shishito pepper right over here. And so we'll see how these go right in here, this area. So now these hot peppers, these Pablo peppers, there's 2 in 1 container. So I did split them apart, and so now I have 2 plants. So I have 1 red bell pepper, 2 Pablo peppers, and 1 sweet sashimi pepper. Then I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3 barren hot peppers right here. I also have some Hungarian hot peppers. So I have 3 Hungarian hot peppers. And then I have some sashimi hot peppers that I've never grown before. So these sashimi hot peppers look so tiny and leggy, because I had them growing in that other garden bed. And I'm hoping that, moving them to this spot where they're going to get some sun. I can tell the sun is going to be shining on them soon. I'm hoping that they'll get an ample amount of sun, and they're going to do well, because I already see some of the little blossoms forming, which I don't know if that's a good thing. But yeah, so this is how this garden bed's doing, and I feel like I could pinch off these suckers just like tomatoes, which I'm going to try that. Let's just see what happens. Maybe this will make it a little bushy. I don't know if you're supposed to pinch off any suckers on peppers, but I thought I'd give it a try. Let's just see what happens. So we'll just do those 2. But yeah, so that's how these peppers are doing. Now let me show you what's happening on the other side of this garden bed, on the other side of this trellis. So over here I have my cherry tomatoes. We have our 5-star cherry tomatoes by Johnny Selected Seeds, and they are doing so good. Look at that. They have gotten so big so fast. So now I do have some sun golds that I still need to pop into the garden bed, and I still have I think aroma tomato that I still need to get into the garden beds. I think that's pretty much it. Bronze torch. Yeah, I think that might be it. I thought I had 2 other varieties, or maybe 3 other varieties, but maybe 2 other varieties. So I could probably plant those varieties either where the garlic is at, or where the celery or the cabbage, which I did not show you the cabbage. Let me share with you the cabbage after I show you how the potatoes look like. All right, so over here we have our potatoes. We have some red potatoes and some purple potatoes, and I have never grown potatoes before. This is my first year ever growing potatoes. Now on the other side right there, I think I'm gonna plant some butternut squash, and I'm probably gonna try trellising it. Last year I tried growing some butternut squash, and I grew it later in the season and didn't have any success growing any butternut squash because I thought I planted butternut squash in one of the garden beds, but it ended up being spaghetti squash. So I'm excited to pop in some butternut squash in that little area right there to see what we get. So now let me show you what the cabbage looks like. Look at that. Isn't that so beautiful? It's so pretty. It's so huge. Like the leaves are just huge. So I noticed that it's forming a little head right in there. My first cabbage ever. Oh my goodness. Look how beautiful that is. I love it. It's just so gorgeous. It looks like one huge rose. I almost forgot to show you the rose bush that I planted. This is the rose bush that I planted. It's called Dark Night, and it's so beautiful. So when the flower forms, the inside of the rose is super dark red, and then the outer leaves on the underside, it's kind of like a creamish yellow color. It's beautiful. And then it grows, like these are already dying out, but it kind of grows into little ruffly flowers. Let me show you. Do you see how it kind of looks a little ruffly? Now, these ones are going to die out, but they're so beautiful. Now, they're not that fragrant, but they're so pretty in color. So I cannot wait until this whole thing gets full. These roses get full with roses, but everything in this little area, my little perennial area, is looking pretty good. So my goal is to eventually, get bark throughout this whole garden and have some annuals and perennials planted throughout the garden. So that is how the little garden's doing, and all the chickens are doing so good. There's one of our oldest ones. She's about 4 years old. But all the baby chicks are doing so good. Except for that skunk. Stinking skunk. I hope we catch him. But let me show you how the little garden's doing. The little garden is doing so good. I've been harvesting onions. So many green onions. Just a ton of green onions. So we have a ton of green onions growing. We have yellow onions, white onions. I did not plant any red onions because I thought I was planting red onions, but I was actually planting green onions. So right here in this little area, we have some green onions right there. And then I have 2 rows of those green onions. I have a row of garlic right in there. And then on this side, right here, we have some yellow onions. We have some more green onions right there, and then some more yellow onions in the very back. And then over here on this side, we have some white onions. Right there, 2 rows of white onions, and then sporadic green onions over there in the corner. Now, we do have some eggplant growing right there. I'm surprised at that eggplant. Now, that is a Thai eggplant. I'm going to say it's a Kermit eggplant. I'm not too sure yet. I have to see what the fruit looks like. But that survived during the winter time, which I'm so shocked because we had quite a cold winter. So that's pretty impressive. And then right here we have another blackberry bush right there that's doing so good. So that's so exciting. So I'm just going to kind of trellis it down that way and see how it goes. But that is how everything's doing in the garden. Let me show you how the lambs are doing. So there are the lambs. They're doing so good. So we have 2 girls and 1 boy. We've named them Jack, Chrissy, and Janet. They're so cute. Now the boy, I have had him eat out of my hand. I have been getting them to eat out of my hand. The two girls are a little skittish, but the boy, he's been a little bit easier. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Now I do raise these lambs on a grass start to grass finish. In the very, very beginning, when we first started raising lambs, my girls were in 4-H, and they did, you know, they would do the free ranging and grass. They would feed them grass and then do a grain finish. Well, I've done that a few times, and since recently, I want to say the past 3 sets of lambs that we've had, I've done a grass start to a grass finish. Now, the only time I buy grain is when they first come onto the farm, and I'm trying to get them to like me and befriend them. Then I buy them a sweet molasses grain where I am able to come in. I just bring a little bit in a bucket, and I come in and I sit in the stall, and then I, you know, hand feed them. So once they eat out of my hand, then they'll earn my trust, so that way I could put a harness on them easily without having to chase them around, because that's what I like to do. I like to harness our lambs so that way we could walk them around. Now, if we had more than 3, that would be a whole different story. But because we only have 3, then it makes it a little easier to train them. So look at this little boy. He thinks I have food. He's already coming up to the. Oh, he's letting me pet him. Let me show you. Do you see him? He's right there. I don't know if he's gonna let me pet him on the head. This is the closest he's come to me without food. So that's just awesome. So yeah, little by little. Then you know, eventually it'll just come right up to me. So this is so exciting. This is probably by far the fastest that lambs have ever eaten out of my hand. It's only been a week since we brought these lambs home, and almost 2 weeks. I think it's almost 2 weeks now. And so far, so good. So I'm so excited for this new 2023 spring garden and everything that's happening on the farm. So I have a lot of cleaning to do. Matter of fact, let me show you what John's been up to. John has been helping me clean up the little tool barn, and let me show you what he's been doing. All right, so John has been cleaning out this tool area, and that has just been so awesome. So he did put all of the tools up here. He put these little pipes, and then he strung them up, because this canopy kind of leans a little bit so that the water can flow off. So that's really cool to get these shovels and things out of the way and not in just barrels all over the place. And then he did hang up some hooks on the wall there so he could organize all of the tools right there, and I just love it. It just feels so clean, because this is the area where I bring all the plants in and I'll repot them and things like that. So right now is just a holding spot for so many things, but I have cleared out so much stuff from this area just recently, and it doesn't look like it, but I have been slowly working on it. So let me show you this chest that our neighbor gave to us. It is so pretty. So our neighbor just recently moved, and it's been a big bummer because we do have some new neighbors. They haven't moved in quite yet, but we've been seeing them over there. So they did leave, and so they did give us this chest, and oh my god, it is the coolest thing ever. So let me show you. Look at that. Isn't that so cool? Do you see all the artwork, like all the decor, all the metal decor that it has? It's just so cool. Everything about it is so cool. And let me show you the inside. Now it has these original latches right here. Aren't those just so neat? And then all this metal, all this is all metal, and all on the wood is all metal. And then, let's see, look at that. It doesn't look that bad in the inside. I mean, it needs a little work here and there, but for the most part, it doesn't look that bad. So I think I'm gonna keep it because it's so cute. I love it. I mean, it looks a little rough, but isn't that just the cutest little chest? So neat. So that is what's happening on the farm. I'm probably just gonna clean up this chest really good and put it somewhere around the front of the house or in the patio room or something like that. I'll find a place for it. But it's so cute. And I was gonna put it in the garden as yard art and fill it up with dirt and then have like petunias spilling out of it. And I thought that would be so cool. But it's just such a cool looking chest that I don't want it to get ruined in the elements in the weather. So I'm probably gonna keep it, you know, somewhere underneath something so that way it doesn't get, you know, destroyed any more than it already is, because it's just the coolest looking chest. I love all the little trinkets and decor and the, you know, the detailed work. I love the detailed work. It's just so cool. So that is what's happening on the farm. Just a lot of cleanup, a lot of planting. I cannot wait to show you what else I'm going to be starting in the garden, what else is going to be happening, and all the food we're going to be harvesting. I am just so excited for this 2023 garden season, especially since I have irrigation. That is just like the game changer for me, is to have irrigation, because man, the past couple years I've just been watering everything by hand, and to now just be able to turn a knob and have the drip going is amazing. So I cannot wait to get the irrigation on a timer, to have it all timed where we could just have it set. Oh my God, that's just gonna be amazing. So that is what's happening on the farm. Things are growing. It's just going to be an amazing year. Our lambs are doing fantastic, and yeah, I can't be any happier. So now I'm just going to start taking care of some containers, because I need to work on some containers around the garden and fill our pots up with some beautiful flower for my daughter's little graduation party. And I'm going to go ahead and get started on that, because it is already getting warmer and it's only like 8 o'clock. So I'm gonna start editing on this video. Take care, be safe, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.